Hello and welcome back to Nomad Overland. My name is Ben and I am out on a beautiful cloudless morning. My goodness, can you just see the contrast of blue behind me? It is absolutely gorgeous here. Okay, so in a video that I uploaded a couple days ago, which by the way is doing really well, and thank you to all the watchers and subscribers who are checking that out. One of the things I mentioned, it was kind of a top 10 things to do for winter in preparation to go outside and enjoy the weather. And one of the things I mentioned, the idea of layering your clothes. So what I want to do in this one is kind of a little bit more of a deep dive on the idea of layering and what you can do to really prioritize your warmth while you are outside enjoying the great outdoors, especially when it comes to cold weather. Okay, number one, use the multi-layer system here. So let me first explain what that is and what sorts of things you should be using for each of those layers. So we have 3 layers. We have our base, mid, and outer layers. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of walk through each one of those layers first, describe what they are and what you can use in each of those layers in order to maximize your warmth. Okay, so the base layer is something that is going to be directly on your skin. Now this would be something that is like a polypropylene or polyester, or if you're looking for a natural blend, maybe a merino wool, and that's going to be directly on your skin. Now, why is that important? Well, because what it does, it acts to remove the moisture off of your skin. It's called wicking, and that moisture then moves off of your skin, goes into your mid layer, and is eventually evaporated. Now, why that is important is because having that moisture on your skin can actually cause a much deeper cooling, especially when you're not prepared for it. And it's happened to me before too, not being properly prepared and having that that moisture, especially when I'm active outside, that moisture gets immediately hit by the wind, and whoop, you just get instantly shivered and you start getting cold. With that base layer, it removes the moisture off of your skin, so there's less tendency for you to get chilled. Obviously, if you're taking all your clothes off, then you're going to, but you will stay drier, and drier means warmer when you're outside. There's lots of different products that you can use when it comes to choosing a base layer. I'm not here to suggest one company over the other, but what you do want to do is make sure that the product that you're using has the material that is best suited for you. Now, some people prefer natural fibers, some people prefer man-made fibers like polyester. Either way, it doesn't matter to me which one you use. I'm not here to argue the benefits of one over the other, but make sure that you choose the one that's best suited for you. Okay, that's the key takeaway for your base layer. Number 2 here on the layering system is our mid layer. Now, the mid layer is essentially your insulation. And for me personally, I prefer to use, when I'm outside doing camping or overlanding and outside, that sort of thing, I tend to use a multi mid-layer system. So I have these this great shirt that goes over top of me. It kind of zips up here, and it's an old Canadian Army undershirt, I guess, but it's a long sleeve shirt. It's a little thicker than my base layer. So I put that on, I put my base layer on, I put that Canadian Army undershirt on, which is just beautifully warm. Then I add my other mid layer on top of that, and it's usually a wool sweater or two. I might have one thin sweater and then something a little thicker on top of that. Now, why is that important? Obviously, it's not just about staying dry, also the idea that we want to insulate the warmth that we have. And one of the things that you can do in that mid layer, and this is why I do what I do, is you trap air in between each of those mid layers that you have. If you only have one mid layer, you're not trapping any air. And so if you have your base layer and then 2 or 3 insulated layers in there too, you're trapping warm air inside each of those layers to provide additional warmth, because your body is heating up those air pockets, and those air pockets are in turn heating you up. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on where you are and how cold it is and what type of layering you use. Now, for me personally, I typically am a wool sweater kind of guy. That's just what I like. Now, I have heard, I've seen on YouTube advertisements for bearskin, which is a fleece jacket. And it's kind of interesting that they claim that their product is so warm that bearskin fleece is the only mid layer that you're going to need. And I would say that might be true, but it might depend on where you are and who you are, okay? So I know people that are fairly cold all the time, and so having that one layer might not be good enough, right? Now, bearskin, if you're listening, maybe send me one of those things and I can test it out for you, okay? Because I'm a little skeptical, I gotta say, I'm a little skeptical of the claims that you make. But again, that's just personal preference. Whether it's a fleece or wool, doesn't really matter. But my suggestion would be run with a multi-layer mid-layer. 2 to 3 layers most likely, I think, would be sufficient, but it does depend on you and what and how you react to the cold. So I think just having one layer, in my opinion, is not a smart way to go. Keep that in mind. And bearskin, if you're listening to me, I challenge you to convince me otherwise. Okay, send me a product, contact me, send me a product, and I'll review it. I'll be an honest reviewer for you, honest reviewer. Okay, the last part of this layering system, this 3-part layering system, is your outer layer. Now, the outer layer is going to be the protection against wind, rain, snow, etc. And it's going to provide waterproofing, but also breathability. And this is the claim, of course, that you would probably know with things like Gore-Tex, or if you're a Fjallraven person like I am, the G1000 material. Those are all materials that allow for the release of moisture through the material out into the air, and that way you don't get really, really humid underneath. Each material has its own rate of expulsion when it comes to how much moisture is being wicked outside of your body. So keep that in mind as well. Think of a base layer like your tent, okay? If you go into a tent and there's no seam seal on that stuff, and you can tell that there's no coating on the outside or anything like that, you're gonna get in trouble. Because it rains, the tent's just gonna leak like a sieve. Well, it's the same thing with your outer layer. If you open up your jacket and there's no tape on the inside of your jacket that is designed to be windproof and waterproof, get a new jacket, okay? Or get seam sealed tape or a product and seal up what's there. It's not gonna do you any bit of good to have an outer layer that is literally just keeping you wet on the inside, because all the rain and snow and stuff is coming through That's going to damage the insulating layer that you have. It's going to basically wreck all of that warm pocketed air that you have in your insulated layer, and you're going to get cold. Here's a little hot take for you. I would also recommend using something that is high vis. So high visibility, something that is bright as an outer layer. So a sky blue, a hot yellow, something like that. Pick a bright color. It just allows people to see you against the backdrop of a snowy day, or if it's cloudy, maybe it's got some drizzle going on. You're going to be able to see the person from a long distance because of that high-vis jacket. Number 2, choose moisture-wicking fabrics. Okay, now this I kind of already alluded to when I was talking about the base layer, but essentially what that means is the number 1 rule: don't use any cotton when you are outside. Oh my God, there's a reason why it's called killer cotton, because it can literally kill you. Now, why is that? Cotton is a great absorber, and that's exactly what it does. It absorbs sweat. The problem is it holds it too. So a cotton t-shirt is not going to wick the moisture off of your skin, first of all, and second of all, it's going to take a lot longer to actually evaporate that moisture. Just stay away from cotton at all costs, especially in the winter time, Number 3, adjust layers for activity. Now, this is one thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand. They do up here, but then when it comes to practical purposes, they might not. If you're really being active, let's say you're out chopping wood, or you're cutting, you're using a saw and you're cutting logs for your fire at night, all right, that kind of physical activity is going to generate heat. Heat's going to generate moisture and sweat, and you're going to get hot. And if you're wearing something like this, like what I'm wearing, my parka here, my Canada Goose parka, if I'm wearing this, I'm going to be extremely uncomfortable. But as soon as I take the coat off and I'm still working, I'm still remaining warm. So I don't need this to keep me warm. And so if you are physically active, you might not need as much outer layering to keep you warm. However, once you stop that physical activity and you're sweating, your body's going to start to chill, which means on goes the outer layer, on goes the insulated layers to help keep you warm. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's a really important one. You don't want to be overheating. Overheating leads to more sweating. More sweating can lead to more cooling. So you want to determine how all of that fits together for you. And every person is different, so there's no standard rule by which you should be following, but practice yourself to make sure that you can get just right on that one. Hello everybody, and we're gonna get back to the video in just 1 second, but I wanted to pause just very briefly to ask you to hit the sub button. Now, if you've watched this video and you're halfway through, you're committed, and that's awesome. So why not take it one step further, hit the sub button, and let's push this channel to monetization. As Nate Black says, if you don't ask, it's not gonna happen for you. So I'm asking, let's get subscribed, let's get monetized. And with your help, we can. Thanks very much. Now, back to the video. Okay, number 4, include accessories for your extremities like feet, head, and hands. Yes, we don't want to forget. We've got our core nice and warm, but if our hands and feet are cold, it does make things a little bit more uncomfortable for us. So again, avoid any type of cotton, but using insulated gloves, wool socks, wool hat, etc. All of that is going to be really pleasant to keep your extremities toasty warm. Now, there could be an argument about the option of gloves versus mittens. Now, I think you should have a good pair of both, to be quite honest. Mittens, for me at least, mittens tend to keep my hands a lot warmer. Now, if I'm doing something where I need fine manual dexterity, I might switch over to gloves. But then as soon as I'm done with that, I'll put my mittens back on, because they do tend to keep my hands a lot warmer. So that might be something for you to consider as well. Having like a thinsulate on the inside with a wool outside in terms of a pair of mittens is a great way to go. Okay, you might also want to consider having a Gore-Tex shell to go over top of that, just to keep your gloves from getting wet from the elements. Same with your gloves, by the way. Number 5, consider ventilation features. Now, this is a great one. One of the things that you can do is when you're going out and buying your product, your jackets and your pants, etc., see whether or not there's any kind of zipper. So you'd have something called pit zips, or maybe zippers right here along your coat. What that does is it allows the heat that is built up and the moisture that is built up inside to evacuate very quickly. It will allow you to cool down without taking off your outer layer. Once you start feeling cool, zip everything back up again and you're good to go, and your body will reheat itself. Number six, prioritize fit and comfort. There's this idea that I want to dress for looks rather than for comfort, and especially for warmth in the wintertime. I cannot even count how many times I have seen people with a parka like this, like what I'm wearing, a Canada Goose, and what are they doing? They've got their coat all wide open, it's windy, it's blowing around, and they're complaining that the coat is not keeping them warm enough. I wonder why that could be. Yeah. If something is too tight, it's not going to trap the heat inside your mid layers in order to keep you warm, because everything is too squished up together. But at the same time, you don't want to have anything too baggy, because the wind is going to get up underneath and it's going to just destroy any chance of you heating yourself up. Here's a hot tip for that. Don't buy something online before you try it on. I know there's a tendency these days to use internet shopping, and I have nothing wrong with that. Okay, nothing wrong with that. However, if you're looking to buy something for the first time and you've never tried it on, go into a store and try it on. And you know what? Spend the extra $20 or $30 and buy it in the store. Seriously, help out these stores, because they have a whole host of specialty information that could really help you in a pinch, because they know what they're talking about. Okay, a little pet peeve of mine, but anyway. Number 7, insulate your core and limbs equally. Now this goes back to one that we talked about earlier about extremities, but yes, your arms and your legs you want to keep as equally warm as your core body, right? Why? Once your arms and legs start getting cold, that chill's going to go up into your core. It's going to start cooling your body down overall. So you want to kind of balance your heat all over the place. Okay. Number 8, prepare for changing weather. Now, in a video, I don't know, some time ago, I think we were talking about the things that we want to do to prepare when we go overlanding, and weather changes was one of those things that I had mentioned. I'll put the link up there for you to go check that video out. Prepare for changing weather. It's great that you've looked at the weather for the next 3 or 4 days to make sure that you know what's coming. However, weather in terms of winter weather especially can be very, very fickle. It could say bright and sunny for the next 4 days, great, I'm going out, and 2 days into it, you get caught in a blizzard because it comes out of nowhere. So when you go out, have additional clothing ready for you to protect yourself in that type of emergency. Okay, number 9, test your layering system before you go camping or overlanding. You might want to go get all of your stuff on and spend a day outside, maybe nothing too strenuous, but with cold temperatures, and test to see whether or not the gear is working properly for you. Do you find that you're getting cold spots somewhere? Do you find maybe you're getting too hot? You're getting too sweaty? If that's the case, maybe remove one of your mid layers and see how that goes. So testing out your gear before you go out, and by gear I mean your clothing, this is a really good way to make sure that you have a little bit of preparation before you head out overlanding. The last thing that I want to mention is consider breathability and sweat management. Now, I've already talked a little bit about this with the stuff about pit zips and stuff like that, but again, it just bears importance for you to know. Don't use cotton when you are outside in the wintertime. That's the first thing. Use breathable materials, merino wool, polypropylene, polyester, other things, wools. Prioritize those things over other materials, quite literally. Okay, you don't want to get into a situation where you could start to face hypothermia because you have misdressed for the weather. All right, that is a very, very dangerous situation to get into, especially if you're by yourself. You could end up in a very, very serious or life-threatening situation. So please, please, please be careful out there. Okay. My call to action for today, for all of you who are watching this video, go and introduce yourself to one of your local outdoor stores, whether it's an REI or a mountain equipment co-op, that sort of thing. Why is that? Well, because they're going to have a level of expertise, I think, that can really bring a level of information and dialogue to your outdoor needs. They're going to be able to point out areas that you might not have considered when it comes time to go outside and enjoy the great outdoors in the cold weather. And also, I would recommend spending a little bit of extra money and purchasing from those stores. Especially your first time around. Support those type of stores. It's unfortunate that outdoor stores are having a little bit of a problem these days, and it would be great if we could kind of shore up some of their business by actually going into the store and purchasing from them directly. Okay, that's it, everybody. Thank you very much. My name is Ben from Nomad Overland. We'll see you next time. Live life well, everybody. Peace.